Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we are in the middle of the NBA Finals, Game 3. Thunder and Pacers. The Pacers stealing Game 1. Tyreke Halliburton with his last-second heroics like he has all postseason. And then the Thunder completely controlled Game 2, winning it 123-107. Huge night. SGA has just been great all series. Huge night by SGA. Huge night by the Oklahoma City bench, especially Alex Caruso. And we especially Wiggins and Caruso, they had huge nights. So we're at Game 3. The series is tied at 1, and the big question right now is who has the edge right now in the series? And for me, I think it's definitely the Thunder. And here's why. And it's pretty obvious, but it's a big reason. Their star has been much better than the Pacers' star. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been absolutely phenomenal. 72 combined points. 72 combined points in the two games, 38 in Game 1, 34 in Game 2. He's been great. He's played like an MVP candidate in the first two games. And then on the other side, Tyrese Halliburton, he hasn't played like a superstar. Yes, he hit the big shot. I get it. He hit the big shot in Game 1, but he hasn't played like a superstar. Only 14 points in Game 1, 17 points in Game 2, and a lot of those were kind of in garbage time at the end of the game too. So the biggest reason for me why I definitely think the Thunder have the edge right now, even though the series is tied going into Indiana, is because of their superstar. That to me, that's the reason why I think the Thunder have the edge. Justin, who do you think has the edge right now?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Oklahoma City. The Stars. Yeah, SGA has played unbelievable. Tyrese Halliburton, he struggled, and I think a lot of credit goes to Oklahoma City's defense. They've done a phenomenal job so far on Indiana, and the Thunder have been the better team for 80s. They've been the better team for like 92 to 96 minutes, pretty much too in the series. So, because they were in control most of Game 1, and then Indiana, what they've done all postseason long, they have one of those heroic kind of late game runs there, and Tyrese Halliburton, hits the big shot to win it. So yeah, I'm with you still. I think OKC's been the better team, and SGA has been unbelievable.
Oh, he's been phenomenal. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he's broken Allen Iverson and Jordan's record for the most points in the finals in 2 games. He's been great. He's, as I said earlier, he has played like an MVP candidate. He has played like an MVP candidate. And this leads me to my next point of what do the Thunder got to do to take control of the series? And it's pretty obvious. SGA has to continue to be an NBA candidate. And that's the NBA. That's the NBA. This league is won by stars win these championships. Superstars win these championships. It's been going on for 40 years. Back, as we say it every year we talk about the NBA Finals, that superstars win championships. Going back to the 80s with the Lakers, with Magic, and then Bird with the Celtics. And then you go to the 90s. Then you go to Isaiah Thomas with the Pistons. Then you go to the 90s with Michael Jordan. Then you had Akeem in there in the middle of when Jordan was retired the first time. Then you go to Tim Duncan with the Spurs. And Kobe and Shaq with the Lakers. Then you go to LeBron James with Kobe with the Lakers in 09 and 10. then LeBron James with the Heat. And so it's and then you go Steph Curry with the Warriors. And then you look at the teams that have recently won championships. I mean, Giannis, Jokic, Jason Tatum. So this league is won by stars, and I think the biggest thing for OKC is have their star continue to be a star, and there's a very good chance they're going to win their first NBA championship. Number 2, Jalen Williams has to be what he was in the West Finals. This is a big key. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are big because I feel like SGA is going to be great. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren will be very, very interesting to see how Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren play in Indiana because they were not good in Game 1. That was a reason why they collapsed in Game 1 is because those guys were not good. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how good Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are in the games in Indiana. That's a big key. That's big because role players play better on the road. At home, I mean. They play better at home. So it's going to be very key to see how good Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are in Game 1. And then lastly, the bench. The bench has got to be it's got to still be really good because the Pacers have a really good bench. And those bench players are probably going to step up in Indiana. So the bench has to be really, really good for the Thunder, just like it was in Game 2. So, Justin, that's what I think the Thunder got to do to take control of the series. What do you think the Thunder have to do to take control of the series?
For me, what I think Thunder have to do to take control is continue the ball pressure on defense. It's causing a lot of havoc, especially in Game 1 where I think Indiana had 25 turnovers. Game 2, they were a little bit better, but Indiana's been pretty good all year of ball control and not really turn it over. And they had some bad ones there in Game 1, and that's kind of big. That was the reason why they dug themselves in a hole there in Game 1. And OKC's got to continue to apply that ball pressure. My second one is to continue to contain Miles Turner, Siakam, because with Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, they can kind of do that because with Chet, with his length and his rim protection, could kind of slow down Siakam, and then Hartenstein's mobility can kind of bother Turner a little bit. So those two guys got to continue to play well defensively, kind of try to keep Turner and Siakam down. And then my third one is you just don't lay an egg on the road. Like we've seen it a couple of times this postseason. Because man, Pacers go up 2-1, you not this thing at 2-2, then it kind of turns into a best of 3 there. And you lose another one. You get a little dicey. So for OKC, just kind of take care of business and don't lay an egg tonight or Game 4 on the road.
Yeah, I agree. And you made a good point about their road struggles. They have struggled, especially in those Game 3s, especially in Game 3. Even go back to the Memphis series. They were 29 in Memphis. They were lucky Todd got hurt in that game because they would have lost Game 3 at Memphis. And then you go back to Game 3 against the Nuggets. They lost Game 3 against the Nuggets. Then go back to Game 3 against the Timberwolves. They got blown out. They have definitely struggled in Game 3. So this is a key game because if you get down – because the luxury they had outside of the Nuggets series, the luxury they had in 2 of those other 3 series is where they lost Game 3 is they were up 2-0. But if they get down 2-1, that's going to be – especially with a crowd like Indiana, a team that's played really well at home in the postseason, a crowd like Indiana, the Pacer team has played well, that could really hurt them. So that's a big, big key for the Thunder there is they need to be better in Game 3s, and I feel like it's got to start tonight. But we'll move on to the Pacers and what they got to do to take control of the series, and it's so obvious. Tyrese Halliburton has got to be better. Yes, I know he hit the big shot in Game 1, but the way he's came out and attacked. It feels like regular season Tyrese Halliburton has been. That's what we've seen in the finals so far. We haven't seen what we've seen in the playoffs. We've seen in the regular season, and we're seeing why. We're seeing why the people who voted for him as the most overrated player in the league have a point because he's not been attacking. He's not been taking over the games. He has to do that. He's got to come out like he did in Game 4 of the Knicks series. He's got to do that. He's on his home floor. It's a big game. He's got to do that. He's got to be the man. Tyrese Halliburton has got to be the man because if he's not the man, the Pacers are not going to win the series. They're not if he's not the man. So he has got to be the man tonight. He has got to have a huge night tonight in his building. The series is tied. The game's in his building. He has got to have a huge night. Number 2, Siakam. Siakam has got to be really good too. Siakam was good in Game 1, not as good in Game 2. Siakam has got to be Robin. He's got to be Robin to Halliburton's Batman. And number 3, their bench. Their bench is, and that was the biggest reason why they had a chance to win Game 1. Obi Toppin was great. Hit 5 threes in that game. Obi Toppin was great. The bench was the reason. The bench was probably the biggest reason why they had a chance. Halliburton had a chance to win that game in game one. So the bench has got to be better for the Pacers. Those are mine, Justin. What do the Pacers got to do to take control of the series?
Yeah, I have the same one here. My first one too is with you here is the bench. They need to outscore the Thunder's bench, and now that they're home, the role players should step up for Indiana. Because in this series, Wiggins had a really good game too. Alex Russo's had two really good games defensively and offensively. He hit 20 points a game too. So, Indiana's bench has to kind of step up here, and have a big night because both teams have depth and both guys can rely, on players off the bench. So. Indiana needs to have those guys step up here in the next couple games. My second one is Pacers ball control, better in game two, but they were atrocious. Yeah, like even too, like I know you're talking about Halliburton and like even the Thunder, like they're really limiting playmaking opportunities too. Like they're doing such a great job, and yeah, they have to try to find ways to get him separation, try to get him open a little bit more. But yeah, like the ball control's got to be better. My last one is kind of win the transition game. Um, the strength offensively for Indiana is their transition offense, but that's such a strength too defensively for the Thunder. So that's kind of be a big battle if we could kind of win that. And I don't think Indiana wants to play this OKC team in the half court because OKC's defense is kind of been smothering them, and they've had difficulties at times this year scoring basketball. So they gotta win the transition game. They gotta get it up, moving up and down, and win. Get opportunities. On the break.
Yeah, as you said, the Pacers got to play their game. They got to play their game because really, for outside of the second half in game one, they really haven't played. We haven't seen like a Pacer, like a game 4 against the Knicks. We haven't seen like the Pacers play their game or a game 6 against the Knicks. We haven't seen them play their game. They got to set the tone. I know Oklahoma City is a great defensive team. They got to set the tone. They got to play quick in their home gym. That's a great point there. They really got to play quick there because the only way they're going to win this series is or take a couple to win this series is having a couple games where they play their game. The Pacers have to play up and down the court. They have to play their game. That's a great point there for the Pacers. But now with the series tied at 1, I know last week I think we both agreed that we got you had the Thunder in 6, right?
I had 5.
You had 5. So
yeah,
I had the Thunder in 6 going into this week. Going into the series, I had the Thunder in 6, and I'm going to stick with the Thunder in 6 because I did think the Pacers were going to take one in Oklahoma City. I think they were because they've been really good on the road in the postseason. So I did think they were going to take one in Oklahoma City, and I do think they take one in Indiana. I do think they split in Indiana. So I do think it's going to be 2-2 on Monday night. But I'm going to stick with Thunder in 6. I think the Thunder win Game 5, and I think they win Game 6. I'm still going with the Thunder in 6, and the biggest reason why I'm sticking with the Thunder in 6 is the superstars of the two teams. SGA has showed me a lot more It's given me a lot more confidence in his team winning than Tyrese Halliburton has in his. SGA has came out attacking. He has came out, ready to dominate. Tyrese Halliburton hasn't, and this is a stars league, and that's why I am sticking with the Thunder in 6 games. I'm sticking with the Thunder in 6. Justin, you still have the Thunder in 5.
I'm gonna go Thunder in 6 now. I thought OKC would take care of business at home. They didn't, and I'm with you. I do think Indiana gets one of these next 2 here at home and knot it up at 2-2. But I think OKC wins the next, game 5 and game 6 and kind of closes it out. And yeah, she has been really good. I think Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren played pretty well, and yeah, Halliburton's kind of struggled at times most of the series so far. Yeah, I think either tonight, tomorrow, or game 3, game 4, he plays. He does enough here, but yeah, I just think OKC's defense is doing a really good job against them, and I do think he's going to continue to have his problems this series of really heating up and really getting going.
Yeah, you talked about OKC's defense against them. They've definitely done a great job. Like, that was one of my keys going into the series was containing him. They've definitely done that. They've absolutely done that. Now Halliburton's got to respond, though. Halliburton's got to respond. He's got to attack. He's got to attack that Oklahoma City defense. He can't be afraid of him. Because if he doesn't play at a high level like he did, like he has all postseason, like he did in the Bucks series, like he did in the Cavs series, like he did in the Knicks series, if he doesn't play at a high level, the Pacers have no chance of winning. He has got to start attacking that defense. He can't be playing the way he did the first 2 games. He's got to start attacking that defense for the Pacers to have any chance.
Yeah, he does. And I don't know if you saw after game 2, after he left the press conference, he had a noticeable limp. He said
did.
It was
that is a key.
yeah.
That is
So
something to be careful. That is something to pay attention to tonight. That is a good point. That's definitely something to pay attention to tonight.
yeah, because if he's not 100%, I know he said it. He called it. It was just some leg thing. He called it. He said not. I'm not worried about it, but yeah, if he's not 100%, then yeah, Indiana's in a lot more trouble. Because if he's not 100%, trying to beat this Indiana team, or I mean this OKC defense, it's going to be pretty tough for him. So, and they would definitely need Siakam, Miles Turner, who played pretty well game, who's had a pretty good series so far. So they need those other guys to step up too if Halliburton's not 100% right now.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely need the other guys to step up. I mean, I think it's gonna be very, very hard for them to win the series if he isn't 100%. Because I think it's got to be 100% for him to win the series. But to give him credit in game one, other guys did step up. But I think it's gonna be very, very hard for him, for the Pacers to win the series if he's not 100%. So that is definitely something to look at tonight if he's 100% or not.
Yeah, absolutely. If he's not 100%, the other guys got to step up. But because it's gonna be really challenging for him if he's not 100% with this OKC defense trying to break him down. Dort, Crusoe, even Clay. I know Casey Walls really hasn't guarded much, but like Casey Walls was, it's in Kentucky was phenomenal. I think he averaged like 2.5, 3 steals a game at Kentucky. When he was there, so he's somebody too that's a really strong defense. They just have so many good defenders they could throw at him. And if he's not 100%, it's going to be challenging to try to really get going.
Exactly. Especially against the best defensive team in basketball in the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it should be interesting to see what happens in this series. The big question is, will we be back next Wednesday talking about a game 6, or will we be back here recapping the finals? We'll see what happens. I mean, there's a better chance, I think, that we come back here talking about a game 6 because the Thunder, one of these teams would have to win 3 straight if we're back here, recapping the finals. So I think there's a good chance next week we'll be talking about game 6 of the finals. But we got to talk about the Knicks and their coaching search, and this is becoming a mess. They've been denied. They were denied to speak to Ime Udoka and Chris Finch. And were denied to speak to Jason Kidd. It looked like Jason Kidd. It looked like that might happen. Then Dallas denied them from doing that. So here's the thing. This is definitely, in my opinion, this was a Dolan call. This was a Dolan call because there was no plan at all to replace Thibodeau. There was no plan at all. This team had no plan to replace him. They're now trying to get coaches from other teams. They wanted to talk to Jay. They wanted to see if Jay Wright was interested. He wasn't interested. I don't even know what's going on with Michael Malone. I think it looks like it's going to be Johnny Bryant. I think eventually it's going to be Johnny Bryant. But for sure that was not their first choice when they fired Tom Thibodeau. That was not James Dolan's first choice, was to Bryant be the head coach. That was not his first choice. So also with everything going on, this is absolutely telling you this was a Dolan call, not a Leon call.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's Dolan. Yeah. I've heard too, like Worldwide West wasn't a big fan of Thibodeau and he got in Dolan's ear. I've seen that story too. So, so that may be the cause too. But yeah, it definitely seems like a Dolan thing now, absolutely, because they would have had a plan in place, you would thought, and maybe they waited till after the finals to actually announce it. But like the kid thing now isn't gonna happen. The Malone thing, it's weird. You haven't seen much smoke. I know Hurley said he's not taking it either. I thought maybe if he got down farther enough on the list, he'd go. But Jay Wright done a much better job on TV. He's gotten better on TV where I think he's comfortable making a couple, probably makes decent money there to work a couple months a year. So it's going to be interesting where the Knicks go. Yeah, you mentioned Johnny Bryant. That's a disaster. For a first-time head coach to take this job right now, where the Knicks are, and where they were in the best spot that they've been in 4th century, it's such a tough task to tell that guy to come in and do better than Tibbs. That just seems like a disaster waiting to happen. So, this thing's a mess. I saw last Thursday, like Luke Walton and Mike Brown were on the list. I hope for your sake it's not Luke Walton. Mike Brown's another Mike. He's like a Tom Thibodeau. He'll play your rookies, but like he won't let them play through mistakes. But like Mike Brown's not horrible. But like if it's like Luke Walton, I wish you a lot of luck because that's be torture for the next couple of years. But we'll see. If it's Johnny Bryant, I'm not a big fan. first-time head coach of that group is just not what that's just a tough gig in New York to tell that guy to come and win a finals with this group.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough. Say it's Johnny Bryant's very tough. Now, you could use the Nick Nurse experience when the Pacers fired Dwayne Casey and hired Nick Nurse. But what was really the reason why? No, I mean the Raptors. My bad. The Raptors, when they were the number 1 seed and they lost to the Cavs in the first round. They fired Dwayne Casey and hired Nick Nurse when he was an assistant. But here's the difference. What was the reason why the Raptors won that championship? It was more because they traded for Kawhi Leonard than them hiring Nick Nurse. And you're seeing that because the Raptors fired Nick Nurse 3 years later. Nick Nurse had a disastrous not his fault, but a disastrous first season in Philadelphia. So, it's going to be very hard for a Johnny Bryant to come in. And, the team had the best season in 25 years, and they fire their head coach. It makes absolutely no sense. And now it's showing. And you thought, all right, they fired him. There's a plan here. There's a plan like a Michael Malone. They're going to bring a Michael Malone in. There's a plan in place for the Knicks. They're firing Thibodeau, but there's an alternative plan here. There's a plan in place. There was no plan at all. No plan. It's such a Nick thing. And I said it last week. It's such a Nick thing to fire a head coach after their best season and have zero plan to replace him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because and the other thing is too where Leon Rose just gave him $30 million. Why would he go to Nolan 2 weeks ago and say, yeah, he's not the guy. We got to fire him. Wouldn't Dolan then fire Rose? Like that would make the most sense. Yeah. The thing on Malone, I wonder, because like the Kings owner, and Dolan seem pretty similar. Malone's already dealt with the Kings owner, and he called them out after they fired Mike Brown, and kind of so maybe Malone just does not want to deal with that again. I don't know. Because I would thought that he was kind of the home run high you would get, but yeah, it just Dolan's kind of got his fingerprints all over this, and it's just bad. And I would he ever go out and hire Patrick Ewing?
Here's the sad part. If you look, and I said this last week too, if you look at the Eastern Conference, there's a very good chance that the Knicks run it back, that they're going to be back in this spot next year playing the Pacers. If you look at the Eastern Conference, the Cavs you don't trust in the playoffs. The Celtics are not going to have Tatum. The Pistons they need a number 2. The Bucks are probably going to trade. They're probably going to trade Giannis. So there's a very good chance that, and the Magic I feel like are too young. There's a very, very good chance you're going to be back in this position next season. That's the sad part. Now you're making your chances worse to get back here next year. And I know, listen. If you're going to ask me, coming into if I had to, lose Thibodeau or Brunson, who would I lose? Obviously, it's Thibodeau because the superstar matters more than the coach in the NBA. But the coach does matter. It's not like the NFL where the coach is a bigger part of the team. I get it. But the coach still does matter in the NBA. And say you have Johnny Bryant and he can't control these egos and the team underachieves, this shows you that this was a major mistake. Where the team that coming in, if they kept Thibodeau, would have a great chance to get to the NBA Finals. Would have a great chance to win the Eastern Conference.
Oh yeah, next year definitely. With the uncertainties right now with Giannis and Milwaukee, obviously with the Celtics with Tatum next year. Again, you can still deal with the Pacers, but it's pretty open next year. You're not dealing in the Western Conference. You'd have a core that would be back and that has now kind of made a couple runs now, and another year together, you would hope only betters them. It just, Dolan this wanting control or thumb a guy in his ear that he really respects, and just it really puts the Knicks in a bad spot. And that's been the problem with Dolan is he has no idea what he's doing. He's not he's always been more involved with the Rangers, I feel like, than the Knicks, and he just doesn't know. He doesn't know either sport, and that's an issue when you think you do as an owner, and you absolutely don't. So yeah, it's a mess, and you hope Mike Malone can fall in your lap because man, if it's Johnny Bryant, just go as a first year coach too. Like what happens? This team gets off to a bad start and they're 5-12. Like that's just all the noise is going to start, and it just puts so much pressure on a new head coach and a tough spot because you're in New York, the toughest market to be in. This Knicks team finally has expectations. It's just an impossible spot to be in. So Yeah, it's a total mess right now. It's unfortunate because you know, you've seen the growth that the team's made and what Tibbs has done in for this group and for this organization the last couple of years. And Leon's done a really good job too. But man, it's just I know exactly kind of how you feel. It's just the owner getting involved and it's a mess and it's just frustrating.
Very frustrating. You have your best season in a quarter century, and you fire the coach. It makes it's not like the Yankees when they fired Girardi, where his contract expired. It's not like his contract expired. He got he signed an extension the year before. It just makes zero sense. It's such a Knicks move. They do well, and then Dolan wants to get involved now. He wants to be his guy. He wants to be his. He wants to get involved, and it could potentially really ruin something that could have been really special with the Knicks. So we'll see how it ends up turning out, but it does not look good right now. But Aaron Rodgers, the wait is over. Aaron Rodgers finally picked a team last week. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so it's finally happened. I think we knew what team he was going to back in March, but it's finally happened. Last week, Aaron Rodgers signed with the Steelers. He was with them yesterday as they opened minicamp, and we kind of knew this. We all knew this was going to happen. We all knew. Yeah, I think I knew when the Giants signed Russell Wilson, this was happening. Aaron Rodgers was going to be a Steeler. You knew for sure. You knew for sure is when they passed on Shedeur Sanders in the first round. When they took Derek Harmon and passed on Shedeur Sanders, they passed on him. When they passed on Shedeur Sanders in the first round, they passed on him again in the third round. You had a feeling this was going to happen. So now Aaron Rodgers is with the Steelers, and he's coming off one of his worst seasons of his career last year. I know statistically it was pretty good, but he's coming off one of the worst seasons of his career last year. The Jets went 5-12. Yeah, is he a terrible quarterback? No, but was he close to what he was 3-4 years ago? Absolutely not. I mean, five times he had the ball in his hands to either win or tie the game. 6 times he had the ball in his hands to win or tie the game last year. And he only got it done once. And that was against Jacksonville. The Denver game, he didn't get it done. He didn't get a chance to do it. The Viking game, remember him overthrowing Garrett Wilson. The Bills game, he threw a pick at the end. He didn't get it done against the Colts. He didn't get it done against the Seahawks. I'm not even mentioning the Patriot game. The Patriot game, but there was like 20. There was no time.
Yeah.
It's like 22 seconds left. So I'll give him a break there. I could say 6. We could say 6 times. We could say 6, but we'll give him a break for the Patriot game. We'll put that one on their defense for giving that game away. But but yeah, but I think the question really is are the Steelers a Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers? And absolutely not. I am confident of saying absolutely not. I think the Steelers, if you look at them compared to the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs, their roster is not as good as those teams. Let's not forget their GM is not Kevin Colbert anymore. It's Omar Khan, and he's decent, but he's not great. So I'm saying their rosters are not as good as those teams. You look at especially offensively. You look at their offensive line. I know they're young and have potential, but it was a shaky line last year. The run game. Let's not forget they lost Najee Harris to the Chargers. They lost Najee Harris, and I know they drafted Caleb Johnson, but we'll see how him and Jalen Warren. We'll see how that combination works. They don't have much depth at the receiver position. I know they traded for DK Metcalf, but they traded George Pickens away, and they don't have much depth at the receiver with which I don't get why they traded George Pickens away. If you're gonna be in win now mode, why wouldn't you want the best route? Why wouldn't you want your receiving core to be as deep as it could be? I didn't get that. Now it's Calvin Austin and Robert Woods that are the receivers, and Pat Fryermuth is okay. So they really don't have a lot of depth in the receiving core. So this offense scares me. Defense is really good. I'll give them that. They drafted on defense. They got Derek Harmon. They drafted on defense. But if you look at how they stack up against the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, they don't. They don't. So to me, I'm very confident in saying they are not a Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers.
No, I agree with you. I don't think they are either. He definitely improves their quarterback room, but that's not saying a lot with what's in there behind him right now. Yeah, they'll be a little bit more competitive in the division. I don't think they're not better than Baltimore. Yeah, I think they're a playoff team. They're probably going to 9-10-1 team. They're going to be, I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be pretty bunched up in there. They'd be fighting for some wild card spots, but yeah, you have DK Metcalf, but that's really about it. Pat Fryermuth's not bad, and Caleb Johnson's like more of a physical back coming out of Iowa. I think he can fit that Steelers offense, but yeah, their running game the last couple of years hadn't, outside of last year, their running game, had struggled at times. So the last, the year before that. So yeah, we'll see. Their defense will be solid, but the offensive line, it is young, and again, Rodgers isn't as mobile as he once was. So but yeah, I think this Steelers team, I agree. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender.
No way. I don't think so either. And the funny thing is you answered my next question. Are the Steelers a playoff team with Aaron Rodgers? And I'm going to answer. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they're not a playoff team with Aaron Rodgers. Now, are they going to be 5-12 like the Jets were last year? No. They get much better coaching, better roster, just clearly a better organization than the Jets. So are they going to be 5-12? No. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they're not a playoff team because I think the Broncos and the Chargers, I think they're definitely better teams. I think going into the year, I think the Broncos and Chargers are better teams I think the Chargers definitely have a better quarterback, and the Broncos arguably have a better quarterback with this rookie season Bo Nix had. So I think they're better teams. Those are going to be teams that are going to be competing for the wild card race. Texans, I think, are a little bit they're a little bit better too because I think the quarterback plays better too in Houston. And then you look at the teams in their division. They're definitely better than the Browns. I'll give them that. But I think the Bengals are going to be better than them. I think the Bengals are going to be better. I know the Bengals' defense is a disaster. I know their defense is a disaster. Trey Hendrickson, he's not at minicamp. They had to release Jermaine Pratt. The defense is terrible. But I think the one biggest difference between the two teams is the quarterback play. And I think the Bengals is the quarterback play. And I think the Bengals, I think they end up being better than them too. You could argue your Patriots might end up being better than the Steelers as well. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they'll be there. They'll be there. I think they'll be there until the end. They'll be there till the end. But I do think I don't think they're a playoff team with Aaron Rodgers.
I say they sneak in because of their defense. They better get out to kind of hot start again because their schedule's, kind of the back half. It's kind of tough again. But I think they finish the second. I get out the Bengals, Joe Burrow, but Zach Taylor's still there. So I expect that team to probably be 1-3, 1-4 heading in October. Because I can't trust Zach Taylor for his team to show up in the first month of the year. But I think with Rodgers, I think their offense is competent. And I think, DK Metcalf having him there is going to help. And yeah, they're going to need maybe a guy like Roman Wilson coming out of somebody like one of those guys, like Calvin Austin, to step up at wide receiver. I'm gonna say their defense kind of carries them to the playoffs. Their offense does enough, and they find a way to sneak in. Um, I know, and they do find a way because I do think they finish in second in this division. I don't trust the Bengals, and I do think they find a way to get to 10 wins. But yeah, I see your point because the Broncos, the Chargers, obviously the Bengals, can maybe say the Colts, and yeah, even the Patriots should be better this year. So I could see it. There's 5 or 6 teams kind of fighting for a couple wild card spots, and so it'll be interesting. But yeah, I will bank on the Steelers finding a way to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think here's another thing you got to keep in mind is how both teams finished their season last year. The Bengals, they won 4 straight. The Steelers, they lost 4 straight, and then lost in the first round of the playoffs. So is Rodgers really that big of an upgrade from Russell Wilson? To me, it's an upgrade, but it's not that big of an upgrade. And I feel like I know Mike Tomlin's a phenomenal head coach, a Hall of Fame head coach, but I feel like this locker room is losing a little bit of confidence in Mike Tomlin because they're just cycling through quarterbacks year after year since Big Ben left. They're just cycling through them. Since it's 2022, you had the Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett combination. Kenny Pickett didn't end up working out for them. Then they had Mason Rudolph starting at the end of the year. Last year, they had they had Justin Fields they started with, and then Russell Wilson. And yes, he was good at the beginning. Russell Wilson, he was good at a point at the beginning, but then he fell apart at the end. So I just don't. I think this locker room is losing a little bit of confidence in Mike Tomlin, and I just think, yes. Do I think the Bengals defense is a mess? Do I think the coaching is average? Yes, but I just think Joe Burrow is one of the best players in the NFL. He's one of the best players in the league. To win 9 games with that defense is really, really good. So I think Joe Burrow in that offense and they have Chase and they have Higgins back. Their offense is much. Here's the thing: the Steelers defense is much better than the Bengals defense, but the Bengals offense is much better than the Steelers offense. And I feel like it's an offensive league. That's why I think the Bengals sneak into the playoffs ahead of the Steelers.
Yeah, I could see it. I know that the Steelers, like the end of the year, like the last 4 games were the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Eagles. Like that was a really tough 4 game. Like after that bye, their schedule was brutal, and I think they wore down a little bit. And like they had that short kind of Wednesday, Saturday with Christmas too, which I think maybe affect them a little bit. But yeah, I get it with the Bengals. They're going to put up points with Burrow. As long as Zach Taylor's there, I know that team's probably not getting off to a good start. And I'll bank on the Steelers to be able to do that. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely a little bit better right now than Russell Wilson is. Yeah, you could argue that you losing Pickens and Harris, their offense might be kind of a little worse as a whole this year. But I'll bank on Tomlin being the better coach. And I'll bank on that defense and make enough stops and win them enough games that they'll figure it out, and they'll figure out a way to sneak get one of those last wildcard spots.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I think they're going to be right there. The ironic thing is, guess who the Steelers play week 1? And that's how you knew Rodgers was going to the Steelers, because the schedule makers got that matchup in week 1. Nance and Romo will be there. Or it might not be Nance. They see that as a doubleheader week, so it'll probably be like Iron Eagle will be there. But still, the schedule makers know what they're doing, having Aaron Rodgers face the Jets in the first game. And funny, the Jets starter was going to be Justin Fields, who was the Steelers starter at the beginning of the year last year, and a guy the Steelers wanted to sign, but the Jets offered him more money.
Yeah, definitely. And So the NFL schedule makers, they know what they're doing. Definitely brings a couple storylines to that game. And you get the chance to. I know it'll be in Pittsburgh, but we'll get to face the Packers too later on in the season. So the schedule makers, Rodgers probably a little bit too want to play those two because we know Rodgers kind of can seems like he holds some grudges.
Oh yeah. That'll be an interesting matchup between those two teams in week 1. Should be fun. But we'll go from one former Packer to another former Packer, and that is Jari Alexander, who the Packers released on Monday. The Packers released him on Monday, and when he's on the field, he's a great player. The problem is he's barely on the field. He missed more than half the year this year, missed more than half the year in 2023, and he missed most of the season in 2021. He wasn't all pro in 2020 and 2022, but the problem is when he's on the field, he just can't stay on the field, and I think that's why the Packers tried trading him. They couldn't get the value they wanted, so they ended up releasing him. I feel like they should just. I mean, honestly, I know he's going to the last year of his contract, but they should have. They should just cap him. I mean, I don't think cutting him makes you better, but he's now released, and the question is, what team's the best fit? I think I got one. I think it's the 49ers. I think it's the 49ers. They got rid of a lot of people in the offseason. They need some talent. They need some depth. They lost Tre'Davious Ward. They lost Tre'Davious Ward in the offseason. I think it'd be a really good fit for him to go to San Francisco. So San Francisco is my pick with the best fit for him.
Yeah, for me, I think with the Niners, but I stayed within the division. I had the Rams. I know they've been mentioned so far lately with Jalen Ramsey. Maybe the Dolphins maybe looking to move on from him. So maybe if they don't land Ramsey soon, and that they kind of switch their attention to Alexander, and they add more talent to that cornerback room over in LA.
I could definitely see the Rams, and the Rams, they love to do it. They love to they're very aggressive. Les Snead is very aggressive. It helped them win a Super Bowl. They were the closest team to beating the Eagles last year, so I would not be surprised if Jari Alexander becomes a Ram. But we got to move on to baseball, and we got the Yankees and Red Sox again this weekend. Last weekend, a little bit surprising. Red Sox took 2 out of 3. I think the big reason for that was a terrible start by Yarbrough. Yarbrough was terrible on Saturday. And then Rondon started really well, but he fell apart on Sunday. So, the big question for the Yankees right now, I mean, I think it's if it's not Matt. I know Rendon's been really good, but the depth this weekend I think last weekend definitely showed you why the Yankees need another starter at the deadline. There's 2 things the Yankees are going to need at the trade deadline. They're going to need another reliever because you can't trust Devin Williams. I mean, Devin Williams has been better, but you really can't fully trust him. They're going to need another reliever, and they're going to definitely need another starting pitcher. Those are 2 things the Yankees are going to need. And this week showed it as they lost 2 out of 3 of the Red Sox and scored a bunch of runs in the series.
Yeah, the Red Sox came in and put 27 runs on you. And again, Boston get hit. That's not their issue. It's everything else. And you mentioned starting pitcher and a reliever. I've been looking at kind of the teams right now who'd be sellers. There's no the one interesting one now with Corbin Burns getting hurt, with the Diamondbacks be willing to give up. Gallen, I know hasn't been great, but Merrill Kelly's about to be a free agent. That's the only one. I know Alcantara's starting to look better, but I don't think Miami's gonna move him now when the value's still not gonna be there. So there's not many options right now for teams that are gonna be selling that have a starting pitcher that you would want on the bump on the postseason. So that's my one worry. Even kind of relievers, the Nationals have one guy, Cal Finnegan's been pretty good. I think he's got one more year after this under control. But yeah, they definitely need help in the rotation because even the Dodgers, they've shown that there's some flaws with the pitching staff right now. Loizaca's giving up 10 home runs. His velocity's down a couple miles per hour. He's usually near 100. He's only throwing 95. So that had me worried right now. And you still got your best trade acquisition might just have to be when Luke Weaver comes back off the IL. There's not a ton of options right now. So, that's my one worry. But yeah, this weekend, the past couple have really kind of showed that they're flawed pitching wise. Because Rodon was good until that 6th inning, and then he ran out of steam, and that was about it. And again, I think also the bullpen's probably just so worn down right now too. So I think that's another thing too. And they just started a stretch last night, 16 games in 16 days. So bullpen's gonna probably need a lot in the next couple of weeks.
It does. It definitely does. And going into this weekend now, you got the rematch with the Red Sox at Fenway Park. First trip for the Yankees to Fenway. And if you look at the matchups, you got the pretty much the same matchups on. Yarbrough against Crochet. That was the matchup on Saturday, which the Yankees lost. And then Rondon against Dobbins. That was another matchup the Yankees lost. So those guys got to be better in those starts. Those guys got to be better there. And then you got Fried on Sunday, which is good. You got Fried on Sunday, which is big. You got Fried on Sunday. I'm still aiming to win 2 out of 3. I think they bounce back this week. I think they lose Friday night, but I think they win. I think Rendon bounces back against this lineup on Sunday, and they score enough runs against Dobbins. I think they're going to score. I think this is going to be another high-scoring series. Obviously, it's outside of the Sunday game. I think it's going to be Friday and Saturday. I think they're going to be high-scoring games. I think they score a lot of runs off Dobbins. They hit Bello too. I'm going to go 2 out of 3. I think the Yankees are going to win. I know the Red Sox won 2 out of 3 in the Bronx this week, but I think the Yankees get them back. I think they take 2 out of 3 at Fenway this weekend.
I think the Red Sox take 2 out of 3 again. I think the Yankees get Sunday. They've seen, I know the Dodgers didn't really hit Yarbrough, but the Red Sox seen him a lot at Tampa Bay. I know he's kind of changed some things, but I'm not confident going up against Crochet Saturday. I know Rendon was all right. I know they could hit Dobbins around, but I'm so worried that Rendon kind of has a stinker, and Fried kind of saves them on Sunday there. But maybe again, I know they get Sam back, but like the lineup's not really the issue. It's kind of the pitching, and that's where I'm worried about that. Maybe even like Devin Williams, even if they have the lead Saturday, maybe Devin Williams kind of blows it in the bottom 9. So, I think the Red Sox take 2 out of 3 again from them.
Wow, you got the Sox taking 2 out of 3. I just don't think they're going to lose another series to the Sox team. I don't think they are. I just don't think. I don't think they are. I know the Sox are playing a little bit better than they've been playing, but I don't think they're going to lose another. I don't think they're going to lose another game. I don't think they're going to lose another series to the Sox team. I think they do take 2 out of 3. But speaking of the Red Sox, they call because Wilyer Abreu got hurt. The Sox end up calling up Roman Anthony this week, and he had the big 2-run double. He had the big 2-run double on Sunday. And the big question of the Red Sox is how much is this going to help them? How much is Roman Anthony going to help them? Is he going to get them back into? Is he going to get them into a playoff race? Is he going to get them into a playoff race? How much is he going to help them? And to be honest, I think Roman Anthony's going to be good. But the problem with the Red Sox, again, is just like the Yankees, is not their offense; it's their bullpen depth and their rotation depth. Really, there's one starter you have confidence with the Red Sox. That's Garrett Crochet. That's it. So. I don't think it's going to help. I think he's going to play well. I think Roman Anthony's going to be fun to watch, but I don't think it's going to help them in terms of winning or losing games because I just don't think they have enough depth in this rotation.
Yeah. With Roman, again, huge bat. He hit on Saturday night a 497-foot bomb on,
I saw that.
Yeah, it's an absolute moonshot. But yeah, you're right. Like their offense isn't the issue. It's kind of the pitching staff and as a whole. And I think their starter ERA is like in the middle of the pack, but that's because of Crochet. Like if it wasn't for Crochet, they're probably in the bottom 3. So, and the bullpen too isn't great either. So yeah, Roman's going to really help that offense, and they're going to have to slug their way to victories. And adding his bat to the line is going to be good. He made a couple nice plays too in the outfield last night. So, that helps after Monday night. He let the ball go under his glove. But yeah, it's gonna help their lineup out. But yeah, they're another team that definitely needs pitching help. And I know they have to leap over, I think, 4 teams right now. They're only 3.5 out of the wild card. I know it's so early. But
I know, yeah.
It's not like, I know it's all, gloomy over there right now, but they're still in the picture. So Roman's going to definitely help them, but but yeah, it's he'll help them to slug out and get a couple more victories. But yeah, they still need a lot more help with the pitching staff.
The funny thing is guess who the two of the wild card teams are the Rays and the Blue Jays. We were talking about a month ago the AL East being terrible. Now they could have 3 or maybe 4 teams in the playoffs because the Rays and Blue Jays are playing really well. Yeah,
I did not see both those teams lighting it on fire like they have of late. I think, Toronto's only lost like 2 games this month. Tampa Bay, they lost last night. They've, they're like 8-3 something this month too. So yeah, both those teams are getting hot, and especially for Tampa because you're about to start 2 months of being on the road pretty much. So you need to get hot now. And with Toronto, they've been really good at home. I think they're 10 over 500 at home. So yeah, the division looked bad a couple of weeks ago, and the Yankees are going to run away with the division. But yeah, Toronto, Tampa, maybe they have something to say here, in the next couple months.
They could. But yeah, I think for the Red Sox, I think I think it's going to help. Their offense will be really good, but that's not their problem. Their problem is their depth in the rotation, and he's not. Roman Anthony doesn't pitch, so I don't think it's going to help them. I still think they're going to be. I don't think he's going to move them from being a fourth. I know the Red Sox are only 3.5 games out of the wild card, but I don't think he helps them to move them from being a fourth place team. So we'll see what happens. Another series between the Yanks and Sox this weekend. But we'll wrap up the show talking about the Stanley Cup Final. And the beginning, as it started, we thought we had one of the best Stanley Cup Finals. We had an overtime game in Game 1 that the Oilers won. Then you had another double overtime game that the Panthers won. Then Monday night, the Panthers crushed the Oilers 6-1. I mean, it got chippy. It got chippy in the third period. They were fighting like crazy, both teams. But going into this, but now the series is 2-1 between these two teams. The big question is for the Panthers: how do they put the Oilers away? How do they put the Oilers away? They've done a great job scoring goals. It looks like that's definitely the formula to put this Oiler team away.
Yeah, you mentioned it. And the Stars got to continue to produce. Sam Bennett right now, which probably win the Conn Smythe right now. Brad Marchand again, big Game 2 and just continues to do what he does. Verhaeghe's been good. So like for Panthers, their star guys just continue to produce so far. My second one is the defense. Barkov, Game 3, he really shadowed Leon Draisaitl. I assume they're going to do that again Game 4. It'll be a little bit tougher Game 5, and if we get to Game 7, because Edmonton can make the last change. But Barkov pretty much shadowed Leon. I don't think he had a shot on goal Monday night. And then every time McDavid's on the ice, McDavid's got the puck, they're just sending a couple dudes after him, and even right after he gets rid of the puck, they're hitting him. And he went to the locker room for a little bit in Game 3. Like they're just hitting him. And same thing with Draisaitl. My third one is the power play. Maybe finally start finding some of their legs there. They were 1 for 30 at home. Before Game 2 at home on the power play, 1 for 30, and they had 3 power play goals there in Game 3. So maybe the power play there finally kind of gets some mojo. It gets going and kind of continues that.
Yeah. We saw the power play in Game 3. If it continues in Game 4, especially at home, I think they have a great chance to go back-to-back if the power play continues to be as good as it is. But now looking on the Oilers side, and they're in danger of losing 2 consecutive Stanley Cups to the same team. What do they have to do to get back into this series?
Well, number one, you got to stay out of the box. I think it was 85 penalty minutes there the other night, which was a Stanley Cup record. Good luck, winning, going the box that much, especially on the road. With a team of Florida that has the star power that they do. Number 2, their defense has got to get back to a little form. They have not been good this series. Some bad kind of turnover, bad puck possession. Their defense, guys just getting by them. So their defense got to get back to form. And then third, I don't know who's Knobloch actually. He didn't blame it all on Skinner, but he said that they might go with Pritchard. He didn't know. Whatever goalie kind of takes, plays within who's in the pipes on, in Game 4, they got to show up. Because I know they did it last year when they got down 3-0. They won 3 straight. I don't think you're beating this Florida team 3 straight. Like Game 4 is a must win for Edmonton, and their goalie's got to be their backbone of that, and they got to have a monster game. Because I know Bobrovsky gave them some goals, but because of the overtime games, it's been 45, 48 shots. So, I think Bobrovsky's played pretty well. So for them, the goal, who is ever in net, has to shut down Florida, or at least keep them in the game to have a shot, because you got to win Game 4.
Oh, you have to. I mean, if the Oilers Game 4, I think it's over. I mean, I know last year they came back from 3-0 down to tie the series, but yeah, if you don't win Game 4, yeah, this thing's definitely done. This thing is definitely done. Now for the prediction for the series, and I'll go first. I think the Oilers win. I think the Panthers win tonight. Oilers win Game 5, but I think the Panthers wrap it up on home ice like they did last year. I think the Panthers wrapped up on home ice, and they win Game 6. And I think they win the whole thing. I think the Panthers win it again. I think Paul Maurice wins the second straight cup. I just think they're the better team. I think Game 3 proved to me that they're just the better overall team. I know the Panthers are the stars with the Draisaitl and McDavid, but to me, the Panthers are the better team. And unlike the NBA, the better team always wins in the NHL. And that's why I think the Panthers repeat and win back-to-back. And what a run this has been for the Panthers. They win the President's Trophy in 2022. They get to the Cup, and they beat the Bruins. What a historic season in 23. They get to the Cup, lose to the Golden Knights. And then last year they win the Cup, and they're got a great chance to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. This has been a great 4-year run for Paul Maurice and the Panthers.
Yeah, it has. They've done an unbelievable job that franchise. I forget the GM's name, but he's done a really good job of putting a good roster together and just putting a bunch of guys to just fit what they want to do and just kind of just the physicality that they bring. Maurice has done a really good job as a head coach, and the two Florida teams they've represented the last 6 Stanley Cup or the last 6 Eastern Conference champions.
A Canadian team's never won a cup, and a Florida team's been in the Stanley Cup final the last 6 years.
Yeah, it's insane, and they're doing a good job, and see if it kind of populates the sport of Florida with hockey down there. So yeah, I got for my prediction too. Now I got Florida 6 as well. Game 3 showed me a lot. Like, yeah, you mentioned they got chippy in game 3 in the third period, and Edmonton was losing all those fights. Like Florida was still beating them. That kind of said a lot, and then Edmonton kind of blamed the officials, saying, "Oh, they're starting it. It's not all on us." Like, they're kind of going to that kind of phase too now. So I don't love that. I think they find a win in game 5 because, at home, even though I do worry because that's only a 1 day, you only get the 1 off day and it's a 9-hour flight. So, going out 3-1 too, kind of worried me a little bit. And you got to go home kind of fighting for elimination. But I say Florida wins in 6. Florida got even better than they did last year, and I think Edmonton is a little bit better than they were last year, but I think Florida it's just even better. And they got Marchand for a first-round pick, and I think Florida's willing to, think they'll be fine losing that first pick.
They sure would be, and Marchand has been a great addition, and he proved that in last game when he scored that first goal right off the bat.
Yeah, minute 20 in, had a big goal too in game 2, and he's just been a menace, and he just fits them down. So he's 37. He had 3 surgeries last offseason. The dude still looks like he's 25. Like it's amazing what that guy's been able to do. And he's such an outstanding player. He's just such a pest. And when he's not fit, when he's on your team, or you love it and you love this, but man, you're going up against him, and it's kind of miserable facing him. So he's been an unbelievable addition to him.
He has been. He definitely has been, and there's a great chance he could win his 2nd cup with the Panthers this year. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week, either recapping the NBA Finals or talking about Game 6 of the NBA Finals. We'll be talking more about the Yankees and Red Sox. NFL news that comes our way, and it's the same thing with the NHL. We could either be talking about a game 6 or 7, or we could be talking about a game 6 or 7, or we could be recapping the finals. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group, and here at CMG we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All 4 Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Stinky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.